Today we're going to discuss how to ignore 3D reality and persist in the state of wish fulfilled. Now I want to get straight to the point on 3D reality. You and I are not supposed to ignore the 3D. We are supposed to observe the 3D as tangible manifestations created in the past from our state of I am, which is within. This is why we always refer to the 3D as being dead, because it's the past, it's not the present moment. And more importantly, why who we are conscious of being first before we try to consciously create something or consciously manifest is so vitally important to this entire process. See, when we are creating from that true identity, which is I am, from that higher state of consciousness, which is above ego and all perceived limitation, what we are doing is we are enabling ourselves to observe the 3D reality and choose, thanks to the gift of free will, whether we partake in 3D experience because it feels good and we want to keep that feeling going so as to create more of what aligns with that feeling, or take action, which is going within and recreating what experience we want to have. Remember, thy shall be done on earth as it is in heaven. Within is the heavenly plane, the kingdom of heaven, where we create our reality. Our 3D reality, our kingdom on earth, is where those tangible manifestations are born. Because we're having a human experience, we're not expected to ignore the reality that we have created, because that's the point, right? To harness that power and ability to live out our creations as the embodiment of a human being. So we're not blind, we're not deaf, and we certainly don't have a brain that's incapable neuroscientifically of ignoring sensory input, sensory information. So creating from that I am state of consciousness, our true identity, we're standing in our power. We know who we are and we know our ability to create in this 3D plane. And as a result of that, we can observe what is happening and decide whether we want more of that or whether we want to have less than that. And if so, we can go within where reality is created and make tweaks to that so that we can have the best, most loving, fulfilling experience. As a result, we're going to judge the 3D as either good or very good. Why? Because we're the creator of it all. We have the power to change it. And so there's an impermanence about the 3D. Nothing is final. It doesn't matter what anyone says or does or what you do. It's in your control, within your influence. So we're not going to feel triggered, are we? We're not going to feel triggered, which means that we feel out of control, that something is permanent and final, if we actually know who we are and the power that we have and our ability to create. Now, of course, even Jesus wept over what he created in the 3D, because until we learn to harness that power, until we fully identify as I am and rise to that level of consciousness, we are going to make mistakes. We are going to sometimes become too immersed in 3D reality and forget who we are, or create this false illusion that we are separated from God, from the universe, from our creator. But God knew that, right? This is why biblically we are referred to as children of God. This is the purpose of our human experience, to learn to harness our power, to choose I am, to understand that we can rise above ego and perceived limitations such as belief. And as a result of that, we have to give ourselves grace and forgiveness. Now, the Lord's Prayer, and I'll put it next to me on the screen, is one of the best manifestation tools that we have, because forgiveness is an act of love. That is why the continuous forgiveness of sin is emphasized so much biblically. it's so important to understand forgiveness equals forgetfulness. And it's so important to forgive, not only because it's an act of love, but because sin means to miss the mark, to strive to create something and it not come right because we've gotten in our own way. It shifts us out of our human state of automatically going to shame and regret and, oh, I can't believe that I did that and it's never going to change, and all those spiraling negative thoughts and negative emotions that follow suit. It breaks us free from that, from the chains of our human condition, which can create mental-like prisons. So the act of forgiveness is love. And by doing that, merely by reciting the Lord's Prayer, we are creating more loving conditions versus conditions and experiences that stem from shame and regret. Now, God knows who we are, right? He is our Father. We are His children. And that's why we have contrast, which is a common phrase used in the teachings of Abraham Hicks. In order to learn that we create through how we feel, we have to understand that by experiencing what we don't like and experiencing what we do like, which allows us to harness the skill or to fine-tune our ability to navigate our world through feeling. So by learning through contrast, which is just genius when you think about it, we get to fine-tune trusting ourselves and how we feel and using our emotions as our built-in navigational system, which as a byproduct enables us to enter into a state of allowing our manifestations to become tangible realities by getting out of our own way, which means we're not going to block it because we're not going to have distrust in how we feel and distrust in God's ability to transform what we have created in the kingdom of heaven into tangible manifestations in the 3D plane. And by harnessing all of these skills, it makes it easy for us to stay and persist in the state of wish fulfilled. Why? Because first of all, we know who we are, and therefore who we are conscious of being enables us to create more consciously, more intentionally, because we understand where true reality lies, which is within. In turn, we're not going to be triggered by anything in the 3D. We're not going to be fully immersed in negativity and snowball into sadness and depression and worry and fear and lack of trust. Which cultivates what? Faith. Faith in the unseen. Because it's within where I and the Father are one. It is within, from that I am state, that we feel that true love and fulfillment. And if you're fulfilled, there is no lack, there is no wanting, there is no looking to the 3D to see, is it there yet? Is my SP back yet? Is my money in my bank account yet? I mean, why would you look for a future to happen in the 3D when you've already felt it and experienced it within, in your true reality? You wouldn't, right? Because there would be no wishing, wanting, and hoping that something is going to be created if you've already identified that within you is the true reality where creation is made. And you trust that God is going to deliver that. And how do you know that? Because you have recognized and you have a deep knowing of who you really are, your true identity, which is I am. So there is no doubt. There is no wondering. Can you think of anything better than to know that you're constantly feeling this love from your Father and knowing that you have everything already? Why? Because God is health. God's not healthy. God is health. God is abundance. It's how you receive your divine inheritance. And that's how you persist in your state of wish fulfilled. So I'll leave you with this final note of when you're going through reality. Circumstances are circumstances, but I am. And getting into the practice of that, cultivating the habit of that, is going to serve as a reminder that no matter what you're experiencing in the 3D, It's not final. It's not over. It's not how it's going to continue to be if you choose otherwise.